Do you actually think this is a gift? Do you look at this heavy, useless chunk of Swiss gold on the table? Do you look around this $10,000 a month, five-star hotel for the dying, and think it is an honor? Look at me when I am speaking to you. Stop checking your notifications. Stop glancing at your wrist. Look me in the eye. You stand there, instinctively straightening the cuffs of your tailored suit, patting yourself on the back because your father is residing in the absolute best facility in the state of New York. You boast to your junior partners over $18 martinis in Midtown Manhattan that you have spared absolutely no expense for my round-the-clock care. You tell yourself you are a good son, a dutiful provider. But let us be brutally, surgically honest with each other for one single, agonizing second. You didn't buy my comfort. You bought your absence. You paid a premium, a massive monthly retainer, to outsource the grotesque inconvenience of my physical decay. You eagerly signed a certified check so you wouldn't ever have to smell the sour, creeping sweat of my aging skin. You paid so you wouldn't have to sit in a chair and watch the man who taught you how to build a fire slowly, humiliatingly forget how to swallow his own food. You bought a clear conscience, nicely packaged in a glossy, high-resolution brochure, and you paid for it with my isolation. You traded my touch for a line item on your monthly budget. Listen to this room. I want you to truly listen to it. Can you hear that? The suffocating, perfectly regulated, sterile hum of the central air conditioning. The faint, rhythmic, maddening squeak of the night nurse's rubber-soled shoes against the polished linoleum out in the hallway, pacing back and forth like a merciless metronome counting down my final, shallow breaths. Take a deep breath right now. Inhale. Do you smell those magnificent Stargazer lilies you had your executive assistant order from the florist on the Upper East Side? They cost you $300. They are visually flawless. And they are completely, utterly failing to mask the sharp, metallic, nauseating stench of industrial bleach and rubbing alcohol that permeates every single thread of these 800 thread count Egyptian cotton sheets. Everything in this luxury grave is frictionless. Everything here is dead. Reach out and touch the marble of this nightstand. It is freezing. It is ice cold, perfectly polished, flawlessly veined, and utterly devoid of a single ounce of life. The marble is cold, precisely like your conscience was the exact moment you signed that deposit check, handed my broken body over to strangers in scrubs, and walked back out to your idling Blacktown car. I know that chilling coldness intimately. I recognize the temperature of your betrayal because I am the one who invented it. For 40 consecutive years, I was one of the most ruthless, feared, and celebrated cardiothoracic surgeons in Manhattan. I held beating human hearts in my bare, blood-soaked hands. I played God under the blinding lights of Mount Sinai. I sliced through sternums with the sickening crack of bone. I bypassed clogged arteries. I pulled billionaires back from the edge of the infinite abyss, and I charged them a fortune for the privilege of keeping their lungs expanding. I thought I had conquered the world. I truly believed the glittering skyline of New York City belonged to me. But the brutal truth is, with every complex surgery, with every black tie gala, with every zero I added to my offshore accounts, I was doing nothing more than digging the shallow, luxurious grave I am sitting in right now. I made the exact same soulless calculation you did, and I did it to my own father. I believed I had won the world, but I was just digging my own tomb. I will tell you, In just a moment, exactly what I found in the bottom drawer of his dusty, rotting bedside table the day he died. Alone. While I was scrubbing in with iodine for a triple bypass, I didn't even fundamentally need to perform. But first, take a long, hard look at yourselves. Look at your entire generation of hollow, hyper-optimized, spreadsheet-driven executives. You 40-somethings, with your productivity apps, your calendar invites, your macro diets, and your pathetic morning routines. You manage your aging parents the exact same way you manage a failing stock portfolio or a corporate merger. You coldly assess the liability, you mitigate the emotional risk, and you delegate the physical maintenance to minimum wage contractors. You have somehow managed to take the most visceral, bloody, chaotic, and beautiful thing in the human experience, family, blood, love, and you have reduced it to a series of automated monthly bank transfers. You are the new surgeons of the soul. You take a financial scalpel to your familial ties. You sever the inconvenient veins of duty and obligation, and then you desperately try to suture your gaping, bleeding guilt with money. You send a brand new iPad via overnight shipping so we can FaceTime for exactly 3 minutes on a Sunday morning while you're standing in line for your artisanal $6 oat milk latte in Tribeca. You send a ridiculously soft cashmere blanket via Amazon Prime so you don't actually have to come here and hold my freezing, trembling hands in your own. You check the box on your daily to-do list. Parent alive, parent funded, task complete, emotional labor bypassed. You are completely empty. You are so entirely bankrupt of human substance, so devoid of actual warmth, that you truly believe a financial transaction can replace the physical warmth of your breath in this room. Do you want to know what being alive actually feels like? Because I can promise you, it does not feel like the slick, frictionless glide of this silk robe. This robe feels like a dead ghost constantly dragging against my thinning skin. I remember 1968, a cramped, suffocatingly small, fifth-floor walk-up in Astoria, Queens. The rusted cast-iron radiators clanked, banged, and hissed like dying, angry monsters all winter long. In the summer, the heavy, humid heat was so incredibly thick you could barely draw breath into your lungs. The tiny, windowless kitchen smelled fiercely of roasting garlic, cheap, harsh black tobacco, and the sour, honest sweat of a father who worked 14 grueling hours a day down on the Brooklyn docks loading cargo. But my God, let me tell you, that apartment was alive. There was constant, deafening noise. There was friction. There were loud voices shouting over each other to be heard. Heavy, calloused hands slamming down on the scarred wooden dining table. The messy, undeniable, and beautiful friction of human beings forced by poverty to exist in each other's immediate physical space. We had absolutely nothing in the bank, but we had each other's immense gravity. We belonged to one another. I knew the exact sandpaper texture of my father's bruised hands. I knew the sharp smell of his tired breath when he kissed my forehead. And now I sit in a private suite larger than that entire Queens apartment, wearing this old wool sweater because it is the only thing I have left that hasn't been sterilized by your money. I have a plastic panic button hanging around my neck. If I press it, a total stranger, paid $30 an hour, will rush into the room to ask me what hurts. Everything hurts. The perfect silence hurts. The vast, echoing absence of your gravity hurts more than my failing heart. Look closely at this watch. A Patek Philippe, a flawless masterpiece of Swiss microengineering. You gave this to me on my 80th birthday. You didn't even pick it out. You had your executive assistant buy it, and you had a bonded courier deliver it to my penthouse. This watch doesn't tell time. It doesn't tick. It merely glides, silently, continuously measuring the vast, echoing, insurmountable void between us. This watch marks exactly how much your silence costs. Every single millimeter the second hand moves is another moment you have deliberately chosen to be somewhere else. It is a monument to your cowardice, and there is a very precise, deliberate reason why I am going to throw this $30,000 piece of metal directly into the biohazard trash before the end of this day. Because I finally, agonizingly understand what my father understood as he died. It was December 14th, 1994. A brutal, historic nor'easter had buried the entire island of Manhattan under 2 feet of blinding, freezing snow. It was your 10th birthday. You begged me on the phone to come home early. You just wanted me to help you build a blanket fort in the living room. But I was the chief of surgery. I had a mandatory, high-stakes dinner at the Waldorf Astoria with the hospital's board of directors. I told myself it was all for you. I justified my absence by telling myself I was building a financial empire for your future. So I called you from my corner office. I promised I'd make it up to you on the weekend, and I hung up the phone. That exact same night, while I was sipping vintage Bordeaux, my own father died in a facility remarkably similar to this one, just located in a slightly less expensive zip code in the Bronx. I didn't make it in time. I arrived the next morning, still wearing my wrinkled tuxedo from the night before, smelling strongly of expensive scotch, stale cigars, and arrogance. The bed was already stripped down to the mattress. The room smelled overwhelmingly of bleach and emptiness. A nurse with tired eyes handed me his personal effects in a cheap, clear plastic bag. I walked over to his bedside table and pulled open the bottom drawer. I fully expected to find the expensive, luxurious things I had bought him over the years to assuage my own crushing guilt. The gold-plated fountain pens, the imported Cuban cigars, the pure silk ties he never had an occasion to wear. But the drawer was completely empty, except for one single thing pushed all the way to the very back in the dark. It was a faded, crumpled paper ticket stub, a general admission ticket to a New York Mets game from 1972. The only time in my entire adult, professional life I had ever taken a Tuesday afternoon off just to sit next to him in the cheap, freezing bleacher seats, drinking watered-down, overpriced beer, shivering in the wind off the bay, simply being present in his life. He didn't keep the gold. He didn't keep the silk. He kept the 2 hours of my actual time that I surrendered to him. That was the exact, horrifying moment I realized my massive empire was nothing but a graveyard. I had willingly traded the warm flesh and blood of my children. I had traded the final, precious years of my father's life for a brass plaque on a hospital wall and a bank account that couldn't buy me a single, solitary extra second of genuine human affection. I am throwing this gold watch away because it is a lie. A beautiful, heavy, expensive lie. Time cannot be delegated. Time is not gold. Time cannot be banked in a vault. Time cannot be saved or invested in a hedge fund or outsourced to a team of highly trained, empathetic nurses. You cannot send a certified check in place of your breath. You cannot outsource your physical presence. When you are lying exactly where I am lying right now, and make absolutely no mistake, my son, no matter how much money you earn, no matter how many companies you merge, you will eventually end up in a bed exactly like this one. You will not care about the 800 thread count of your Egyptian cotton sheets. You will not care about the imported Italian marble on the floor. You will stare at the heavy wooden door of your room, praying to a God you conveniently forgot about decades ago, begging for the door handle to turn, begging for the messy, complicated, loud, physical, and inconvenient presence of the people you spent your entire life pushing away in the relentless, blind pursuit of success. So listen to me very carefully. I am not here to inspire you. I am not here to make you feel good about yourself. I am here to warn you from the very edge of the abyss. Stop looking at this screen. Stop hiding behind the glass. I want you to think of the person you are managing from a distance right now. The mother you text a heart emoji to instead of calling to hear her voice. The father you send automated Amazon gifts to instead of driving over to see. The child you are too busy, too important, too stressed to look directly in the eye when they speak to you. Call that person right now. Pick up the phone and call them. Or go down into the comments below this video. I don't want your empty digital praise. Do not write beautiful script. Do not tell me this was a nice, emotional story. I don't give a damn about your likes. I demand a blood oath. A raw, bloody promise to your own future. Write down the exact, specific date you are going to walk through their front door with no excuses, no distractions, and absolutely no phone in your hand. Write these exact words for me. I stopped paying for my silence. Do it now. Do it before you end up trapped in a freezing golden cage of your own making, staring at a door that will never, ever open again.